Welcome back, everybody, to your daily financial news rundown. I am excited for today's show.
Me too. It's going to be a good one.
We've got quantum computing feuds, ethical dilemmas about betting on natural disasters,
Don't
and,
forget the labor movement too.
oh yeah, that's right, so much to unpack. So let's get started with a story that's been making headlines. Um, NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, he's claiming that practical quantum computing
Yeah.
is still like 15 to 30 years away.
Wow.
And this has sparked a lot of debate, particularly from Alan Baratz, who's the CEO of D-Wave.
Yeah, he's not too happy about that statement.
No, he is not. He's calling Huang dead wrong.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And he's pointing out that D-Wave's quantum computers are already being used by companies like MasterCard.
And it's interesting because this really highlights a kind of key difference in the field of quantum computing.
Oh, how so?
Well, you see, there are different types of quantum computers being developed, right?
Yeah.
And so Huang seems to be referring to the gate model quantum computers,
Okay.
which are still largely theoretical. But D-Wave, on the other hand, they specialize in what are called annealing quantum computers.
Okay.
And those are already being used for very specific tasks. So
it's like apples and oranges.
exactly. They're both talking about quantum computing, but in different contexts.
And I guess that's why there's so much confusion and debate, right?
Right. And it's important for investors and the public to understand these nuances because it affects how we perceive the progress and potential of this technology.
Absolutely. And speaking of investors, how did the market react to all of this?
Well, following Huang's comments, quantum computing stocks kind of took a bit of a dip.
Oh, really?
Yeah, companies like IonQ, Quantum Computing Inc., D-Wave, and Rigetti Computing, they all saw their stock prices fall.
So it seems like investors are a little hesitant about this whole 15 to 30-year timeline.
It seems that way, yeah. They might be concerned that widespread adoption of quantum computing is further off than they initially anticipated.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But even with that dip, D-Wave's stock has still seen like a 600% increase over the past year.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
It is. It really shows that there's still a lot of confidence in their technology.
Definitely. And I think it'll be very interesting to see how this rivalry between NVIDIA and D-Wave plays out and what it means for the future of quantum computing as a whole.
For sure. Now let's move on to another big player in the tech world, Blackstone.
Oh, yeah. What are they up to?
Well, they've just invested a whopping $300 million in DDN.
EDN.
Yeah, it's a data storage and analysis company that actually powers Elon Musk's XAI supercomputer.
Wow. So Blackstone is betting big on AI.
They are. And this is actually the first external funding round for DDN, which now values them at $5 billion.
That's a significant investment. It shows that Blackstone sees immense potential in AI, and not just as a standalone technology, but as something that will drive value across multiple industries.
It's like they're saying data is the new gold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And DDN is positioned to be a key player in this data-driven future.
So it's not just about the brains of AI, but also the infrastructure that supports it.
Right. You need robust and reliable data storage and analysis capabilities to truly unlock the power of AI.
Makes sense. But, not every investment is a home run, even for a giant like Blackstone.
Oh, that's true. What happened?
Well, they're facing a potential $600 million loss from their investment in Alacrity.
Alacrity.
Yeah, it's an insurance outsourcing firm that's currently going through a restructuring.
Ouch. So not all of their bets are paying off.
Nope. In fact, BlackRock's equity stake in Alacrity has been completely wiped out.
That's a tough blow, even for a company as large as Blackstone. It just goes to show that even the most seasoned investors can face setbacks.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that there are always risks involved, especially in the fast-paced tech sector.
Definitely. Now, switching gears a bit, let's talk about some news in the biotech and pharmaceutical world.
Sounds good. What have you got?
Well, first up, we have MinerX Therapeutics. They're a company developing therapies for obesity and muscle diseases.
Okay.
And they've recently expanded their leadership team, bringing in some very experienced executives.
That sounds promising.
Yeah.
What does that tell us?
Well, it's usually a sign that a company is preparing for significant growth. They're beefing up their expertise to navigate the complex world of drug development and commercialization.
So they're getting ready for the big leagues.
Exactly. And then we have Avadel Pharmaceuticals. They specialize in treatments for sleep disorders.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they've reported a 150% surge in sales for their narcolepsy drug, LUMRYZ.
Wow. 150%. That's huge.
It is. However, they still missed analysts' earnings estimates.
Oh, really? So even with that massive growth, they're still facing pressure to perform even better.
Yeah, Wall Street has high expectations, and sometimes it's hard to keep up even when you're seeing significant progress.
I can imagine. So what's next for Avadel?
Well, they're projecting a 50% sales increase for 2025, and they anticipate achieving positive cash flow.
So if they're still optimistic.
They are, but it'll be interesting to see how they adapt their strategy to meet those targets and satisfy those investor expectations.
Definitely. Now let's shift over to the tech sector, where we're seeing a lot of strategic partnerships form.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, BIGO Ads has partnered with Unity LevelPlay, which is a leading mobile game mediation platform.
I see.
And this collaboration is aiming to create new revenue opportunities for app developers.
That's smart. It's all about leveraging each other's strengths and expanding reach in a very competitive market.
Exactly. And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, IndieZ, which is a top mobile game developer, has already seen a 30% increase in their return on ad spend since joining forces with BIGO Ads.
That's impressive. It really shows the power of a well-executed partnership.
It does. Now, for a story that's hitting a little closer to home,
Oh, what's that?
the labor movement is gaining momentum in the automotive industry.
Really? Tell me more.
Workers at a Ford and SK on joint venture battery plant in Kentucky have filed a petition to form a union with the UAW.
Interesting. This follows a similar successful unionization effort at a General Motors and LG Energy Solution battery plant last year.
It does. And it seems like the UAW is really focusing on organizing workers in this rapidly expanding electric vehicle and battery manufacturing sector.
That makes sense. This is where a lot of the new jobs are being created.
And it could have major implications for labor relations in this evolving industry.
Absolutely. The shift to electric vehicles is bringing about a lot of changes, not just in terms of technology, but also in terms of the workforce and its representation.
Now, for a story that sparked a lot of controversy and raised some serious ethical questions,
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
the crypto prediction platform Polymarket has come under fire for allowing people to bet on the containment of the recent Los Angeles wildfires.
Oh, wow. That's a sensitive topic.
It is. And it's causing a lot of people to question the ethics of profiting from tragic events.
I can see why. While some argue that prediction markets can provide valuable insights, others are concerned about the potential for exploitation.
It's a gray area for sure. Where do you draw the line between forecasting and profiting from someone else's misfortune?
Exactly, and this situation highlights the need for careful consideration and perhaps even regulation as these types of platforms become more popular.
It's a tough one. Now, before we move on, I'm curious to hear your initial thoughts on everything we've discussed so far. What's standing out to you?
Well, what strikes me is the sheer speed and magnitude of change happening across so many different sectors.
I know, right? It's like everything is transforming at once.
It is. We're seeing technological leaps forward, evolving labor dynamics, and even the emergence of new markets that are pushing ethical boundaries.
It's a lot to process. And speaking of processing, let's talk about Tesla.
Oh, yeah, Tesla. What have they been up to?
It seems they're now offering non-foundation series Cybertrucks.
So a more affordable option.
Exactly, a cheaper alternative to their premium foundation series.
That's interesting. I wonder if this is a strategic move to broaden the Cybertruck's appeal and attract a wider range of buyers.
It could be, especially as the competition in the electric pickup truck market heats up.
Makes sense. Now, what about those free supercharging offers?
Yeah, that's another interesting development. They're still offering free supercharging with Cybertruck purchases.
Huh. I wonder if that means demand for the pricier models might be a little lower than they expected.
Possibly. It could also be a way to sweeten the deal and incentivize early adoption.
True. It's a clever marketing tactic either way.
All right, let's wrap up this first part of our news roundup with a few other notable events.
Okay, shoot.
So Skanska, a global construction and development company, has landed a $59 million contract for pre-construction services on a major science and research campus project in New York City.
That's a big win for them. It shows that the demand for specialized construction expertise, especially in the life sciences sector, is still strong.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
And in other news, Vion, a global digital operator, has appointed a new chief financial officer, Barak Ozer.
Leadership changes like this are always interesting to follow. It often signals a shift in strategic direction or a renewed focus on financial performance.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, this last one is a bit of doozy.
Oh, tell me more.
The trial for Do Kwon, the founder of Terraform Labs, who is accused of a $40 billion fraud related to the collapse of Terra Classic and Terra USD.
Yeah, that was a big story.
It was. And the trial is now set for January 2026.
Wow. So it's going to be a while before we see any resolution to this case.
It is. This case has really shaken the cryptocurrency world, and the outcome could have major implications for future regulation.
Absolutely. It's a high-stakes trial that will be closely watched by everyone in the crypto space.
Well, it seems like we've covered a lot of ground in this first segment, from quantum computing and AI to biotech breakthroughs and ethical dilemmas in the crypto world.
It's been a whirlwind of information,
Yeah,
and it just goes to show that the financial world is anything but boring.
absolutely. But before we go any further, let's take a moment to reflect. What stood out to you the most in this first part of our news roundup?
Hmm, that's a tough one. But I have to say I'm particularly fascinated by the ongoing debate surrounding quantum computing. The clash between NVIDIA and D-Wave really highlights the complexities and uncertainties surrounding this technology.
I agree. And it reminds us that even in the world of cutting-edge advancements, there are often differing opinions and approaches.
Exactly. And it's important to understand those nuances because they shape how we perceive and invest in these emerging fields.
Very well said. Now, after a quick break, we'll delve into some more fascinating stories, including the changing nature of work and the impact of AI on financial decision-making. Stay tuned.
Can't wait. Yeah, it really is amazing to see how these advancements are shaping industries. But it's not just industries, it's like broader societal discussions too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that story about the UAW and their efforts to organize those workers in the electric vehicle and battery plants. It really shows how these shifts in technology are directly impacting the workforce.
For sure. It makes you wonder about the future of work, right? Like in a world where automation and AI are becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah, what does that mean for jobs and for workers' rights?
Exactly. And this move by the UAW, it could have ripple effects throughout the entire manufacturing sector, potentially reshaping labor relations and influencing things like wages and working conditions.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And on a similar note, that Polymarket story, it brings up some thought-provoking ethical questions too.
It does. Like, is it okay to profit from predicting potentially tragic events?
It's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
On the one hand, prediction markets can provide valuable insights, but on the other hand, there's a real risk of exploitation.
Yeah, it's a fine line. And it highlights the need for careful consideration about the ethical boundaries of these new technologies.
Totally. Like as technology advances, we need to make sure we're not just blindly embracing it, but also thinking about the potential consequences.
Right. Innovation is great, but not at the expense of ethical considerations.
Couldn't agree more.
Good.
And speaking of ethical considerations,
Mhm.
what about AI and financial decision-making? That seems like a whole other can of worms.
Oh, it is. Like, should we really be comfortable with algorithms making decisions that affect our livelihoods, our investments, maybe even our access to essential services?
It's a bit unnerving when you think about it.
Right. As AI gets more and more sophisticated, we need to make sure it's being used responsibly, especially when it comes to something as important as finance.
Absolutely. It's a conversation we need to be having now,
Yeah,
not later.
I agree. We can't just ignore the potential downsides.
Well, this news roundup has definitely been a wild ride. So far, we've covered everything from quantum computing rivalries to the ethics of prediction markets, from labor movements to the evolving landscape of the tech industry.
It's been a lot to take in, but it's also been fascinating to see how all these stories are connected.
I agree. It's like a snapshot of the forces that are shaping our world right now.
Exactly. And it shows how important it is to stay informed and to critically analyze all this information.
And with that, folks, we've reached the end of our financial news update for today.
We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little thought-provoking.
We encourage you to keep exploring these topics, keep asking questions, and most importantly, stay informed, because the financial world is constantly changing.
It is. And staying ahead of the curve is essential for navigating the complexities and opportunities that lie ahead.
So until next time, stay curious and keep your eyes peeled for those headlines. You never know what surprises tomorrow might bring.
Yeah, it seems like every day there's some new headline that makes you think, what does this mean for the future?
That's so true, and I think that's why it's so important to really engage with the news, Not just read it passively, but actually think about it, question the assumptions, and consider, the long-term consequences.
I totally agree. It's about being an active participant in shaping the future. So before we wrap up today, are there any final thoughts or predictions you want to leave our listeners with? What should we be paying attention to in the coming weeks and months?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's news is the importance of being adaptable and a critical thinker.
Right, because things are changing so quickly. Exactly. The financial landscape is in constant flux. So those who can quickly assess information, identify opportunities, and adapt to these new realities, they'll be the ones who succeed.
It's not just about keeping up with the news. It's about understanding it and knowing how to use it to your advantage.
For sure. And I'd also add that it's crucial to stay curious. Always be learning. Because the world is changing faster than ever before.
Yeah, and if you're not willing to learn and grow, you'll get left behind.
Exactly. So embrace new knowledge. Challenge your existing beliefs. That's how you thrive in this environment.
So well said. It's a good reminder that financial news isn't just about numbers and charts. It's about understanding the forces that are shaping our world and being prepared for whatever comes next.
Absolutely. It's about connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture, and understanding how all these seemingly separate stories are actually intertwined.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our financial news roundup for today. We hope you found it informative and engaging.
We did too. And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring these topics, ask questions, share your insights, because the more informed we are as individuals, the better equipped we'll be to make smart decisions for ourselves and for our future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Huh?
So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep an eye on those headlines because who knows what tomorrow will bring.
See you next time.